Raven-Symoné was known for her body positivity as a teenager, but no one knew that underneath the surface there was something dark and sinister going on. It turns out that she was pushed into having plastic surgery while she was still a minor, and even all these years later she's still dealing with the complications and trauma that she experienced because of it. On a recent episode of her podcast, The Best Podcast Ever, which Raven hosts with her fiance Miranda Mayday, she finally opened up about her experience with plastic surgery. While plastic surgery isn't a new topic when it comes to celebrities, Raven's experience was much less common. Up until this point, Raven admitted that she had never mentioned this before in public and was even a little worried about finally coming out with the truth. But at the same time, she was finally ready to unpack all of the trauma that came with those dark times of her being a child star. She said that she had to deal with a lot of pressure growing up, especially since she was one of Disney Channel's most prominent stars at the time. And coming off of the great success of The Cosby Show, everyone knew Raven's name and expected a lot from her. All this pressure eventually led to her becoming a victim of the incredibly toxic beauty standards of the time. Back then, the skinnier you were, the better, and there were countless tabloids that made it their mission to point out any unwanted weight in celebrities, which was something that happened to Raven a lot. So plastic surgery was the obvious and immediate solution that came to mind. While talking with Miranda, Raven said that the plastic surgery was no joke and that there was serious paperwork involved. Since she was a minor, she had to have everything signed off by her dad, who was a little too encouraging of the whole thing. Raven said that her dad was actually the one who suggested the procedure in the first place. She explained that he suggested she get breast reduction surgery, but also gave her an option to get whatever else she wanted while she was under. According to Raven, her dad only offered her to get whatever else she wanted done so that she didn't feel so bad. But at that point, Raven apparently brought up the idea of liposuction and thought that it might be a good solution to so many people calling her fat in the media. So she ended up getting both procedures done at the same time. But unfortunately, these surgeries would end up causing a lot more issues than they did any good. Immediately after waking up from her surgery, Raven apparently had a seizure. She said that she remembers waking up and seeing everything, but then she started to have a dry mouth, blurry vision, and difficulty breathing. And after that, she became unconscious. And when she woke up again, they told her that she had a seizure. And even after all these years, the memory of this apparently still freaks her out to this day. Raven said she would continue to carry the emotional and physical scars from that day for the rest of her life. But while the seizure was definitely scary, one of the worst parts about the whole thing was that the liposuction didn't even work the way she wanted it to. She said that even though her clothes fit her well, no one knew that she had gotten work done, and she was still being blasted online and in the tabloids about her weight, because even though she was smaller, she still wasn't as skinny as all of the other girls, which was incredibly frustrating for her, since she wished at the time that people could just accept that people have different bodies. And after everything was said and done, the media didn't stop calling her fat in the slightest. The whole thing was incredibly toxic, and it was hard for her to deal with emotionally. She said that it was difficult to accept that people just didn't want to see a body like hers. The fact that she grew up in Hollywood and all of the media scrutiny that came with it was the obvious source of her negative self-image, the very thing that caused her to consider liposuction in the first place. Now that she's older, she's realized that she doesn't think any amount of surgery would have helped her back then. Raven said that she even went back to get more liposuction done, since she immediately gained weight after the first surgery. But because of her hormone imbalance, there was no amount of surgery that would have fixed the issue she was having with her weight. The whole thing took a serious toll on her mental health, and she said that during her recovery from the procedures, she completely disassociated. Raven said that the whole thing was really just a mess, especially when you think about how young she was when it happened. Now that she's older, she's come to terms with some of it though, and she admitted that she understood the reason behind the breast reduction surgery, and that she probably really needed it in order to prove her overall comfort as she transitioned into adulthood. But with that being said, she still seriously struggles with her decision to get the liposuction. The liposuction seemed like it really did nothing for her, and the decision to get it done came from a really negative headspace. And in a lot of ways, she wishes that she didn't have the opportunity to do it, and that she didn't have the scars to remind her of such a painful time. There's no doubt that her experience directly shows what it was like to be in the spotlight back then. And while her breast reduction surgery might have been more excusable than her liposuction, there's still something to be said about her dad's involvement in all of it. It seems strange that he would even offer for her to get anything done alongside her breast reduction. And the fact that he encouraged it and was even the one to bring up getting something else done is pretty bad. But of course, it just goes to show that everyone in Raven's life at the time was willing to do whatever it took to get her looking the way she needed to be a star. And for a time, even Raven herself thought that she could fix her problems with surgery. Luckily these days, Raven is in a much better headspace about the whole thing and doesn't let the media tell her how to live her life. When she lost 30 pounds, it wasn't because she wanted to be thinner, but because she wanted to be healthier for her wife and because she wanted to live a happy and long life, which is a long way from where she was back when she got her liposuction. To finish her story, Raven reminded everyone that if you ever think about changing something about your body, it's probably important to go to therapy first. While there's nothing necessarily wrong with an adult choosing to have procedures like that, you don't want to make a mistake. And if you go into it with a negative mindset and insecurities, then chances are you might end up regretting it years later anyway. And Raven would definitely know what regretting something like that feels like. But anyway, what do you guys think about all of this? What are your thoughts on Raven's dad's offer? And what do you think about her choice to get liposuction a second time after she gained weight following the first procedure? Let me know in the comments below.